Okay, so here what we're looking at are two pictures. That's the root hair cell and that's the plant cell. Okay, I'm going to answer the question first and go through some of the detail later. So, root hair cell taking water by osmosis. The chloroplast, what's the function? It contains chlorophyll, which can use the energy from the sun in the process of photosynthesis to make food for the plant. Because remember, plants are autotrophs. B1 again. They can make their own food. How do they make their own food? By the process of photosynthesis, the equation for which is carbon dioxide plus water makes glucose plus oxygen. Okay, so that's the equation for photosynthesis. Now, I just want to go through the top bit first. So let's look at the adaptations for the root hair cells. It has a large surface area so that more water can be absorbed. It has a partially permeable membrane. This means that only some things can get through, in this case water by osmosis. It has a long thin extension so that it can reach out to get more water. Now let's look at leaf cell and all its parts. So the cell wall is the outer wall, and this provides protection and support for the plant cell. The chloroplast, as we've already said, contains chlorophyll, which absorbs sunlight so that the plant can make food for itself. The equation for photosynthesis is carbon dioxide plus water makes glucose plus oxygen. The cytoplasm, which is all the fluid, the grey bit, the cytoplasm is where all the chemical reactions take place. The nucleus contains DNA. The nucleus is also the control center of the cell, controls the activity of the cell, and DNA, as we've already said, codes for proteins. Now the vacuole is it contains water and cell sap. Okay, so this helps the plant to stand upright so that it is turgid, or if there's not enough water in there, it becomes flaccid, so it becomes floppy. So turgid is hard and strong, flaccid is weak and floppy. If there's a lot of water in it, it becomes turgid. If there's not enough water, it becomes flaccid. Next, we've got the cell membrane. Again, this is the door of the cell, if you like, and its job is it controls what goes in and out of the cell. So what is active transport? Active transport is when plant takes in nutrients from a low concentration to a high concentration, and this process requires energy. Osmosis is when water goes from a high concentration to a low concentration through a partially permeable membrane, and this occurs in the root hair cell, that cell there. Respiration is the process by which we get energy. It happens in the mitochondria within the cell, and the equation for it is glucose plus oxygen makes carbon dioxide plus water, and it releases energy. Transpiration is a loss of water through the stoma. Now I'm going to make some diagrams to explain these three in particular. Okay, so 1, A, B, and D. I'll be back. So here's my picture to explain osmosis. Now osmosis is the movement of water from high concentration to low concentration through a partially permeable membrane. You need to say all three for the marks. So here's my key. There's water. If you look at the soil, within the soil there's more water. Within the roots there's less water. So we've got high concentration of water within the soil, low concentration of water within the roots. So water is going to move from high concentration in the soil to the low concentration in the roots through a partially permeable membrane, which is found in the root hair cell, and that is osmosis. Right, so now we are going to look at the process of active transport. Right, so here's my key: active transport. Nitrates is the circle without anything in it. So if you look at the root of the plant, right, here we've got the soil, and within the soil we've got only a few nitrates and minerals, right? It could be nitrates, minerals, doesn't matter. Now there are more nitrates found within the root and less within the soil. So in order for the nitrates to go from the soil into the roots, it goes from low concentration to high concentration. Now when it goes from low concentration to high concentration, it requires energy. So you're going to have some energy in this process, and that's why it's called active, because active, if you've got something that's active, it's going to need energy. So active transport is the movement of nitrates or phosphates or minerals from a low concentration to a high concentration, and it requires energy. Right, next is transpiration. Okay, now before I explain transpiration, I think it's important to explain photosynthesis. Okay, so it is part of what you need to know. So what we've got is if we look at our key again, that's water. Triangle is in carbon dioxide. So what we've got is our water has entered the roots by osmosis. Now what it's going to do is going to go up the stem. Now we need to know two vessels or two veins that are found within the stem. The first one is the xylem, spelled X-Y-L-E-M. Now the way I remember what this does is XO, XO, H2O. And then we've got the circle with two X's in. Now XOXO is of course text message language for hugs and kisses. So the xylem provides support. H2O, because it rhymes with XO, H2O, so it carries water. And this is the symbol for text message language when something is dead. So it's a dead cell. So if you remember the X's by all the function of the xylem by the X's, and the fact that it rhymes with H2O, XO, H2O, then you know what the phloem does. The phloem is the opposite. So it's living cells or living tissue, and it carries sugar, whereas this one carries water. Now the water goes up the xylem, as we just said, and it enters into the leaf. Now the carbon dioxide, which is in the air, is in high concentration, and within the cell it's in low concentration. Within the plant, sorry, it's in low concentration. So the carbon dioxide moves from the high concentration within the air into low concentration within the leaf by a process called diffusion. Now diffusion is the movement of particles from a high concentration to a low concentration, and it goes through the stoma. Okay, so this one is just a hole in the leaf. So what's the difference between diffusion and osmosis, which is what water goes through? Well, osmosis is the movements of particles from high concentration to low concentration, so that's the same as diffusion, but it has to have a partially permeable membrane. Osmosis is the movement of water from high concentration to low concentration through a partially permeable membrane, whereas diffusion is simply the movement of particles from high concentration to low concentration, and that's it. It just so happens that this diffusion goes through a hole in the leaf called the stoma. Right, so once you've got the carbon dioxide in the leaf and the water in the leaf, you're going to have photosynthesis happening within the chloroplast. Alright, now I'm going to explain the final bit, which is transpiration.